Hey there. I am Christina Prieto, licensed acupuncturist in Orlando, Florida. And I wanted to chime in and talk today about the lungs and how the lungs are perceived in Chinese medicine. What are some of the things that you can eat to help support the lungs? And then also, what are some of the issues that you might notice if your lungs are either deficient or invaded or out of balance? So, of course, I chose the lungs because of what is happening in the world today with the coronavirus. And the nature of this virus is that it does invade the body and it really goes straight to the lungs. There are some pathogens that when they come into the body, they stay a little more superficial. There's some that invade different parts of the body, like our digestive system, things like that. But this virus really goes straight for the lungs and attacks the lungs in a way that is pretty fierce. And there's a lot of ways that the lungs can be strengthened, and that's the purpose of this video. I wanted just to come in and try to just like educate and give a little bit of light to this organ system, and give you some foods and some tips that you can use to help strengthen your lungs. Okay, so the lungs in Chinese medicine is one of two of the main ways that we get our qi, our energy, our life source. Our life source nourishes everything, including our immune system. So we get that qi from the food that we eat and the air that we breathe. The lungs give us, they supply us oxygen, right? They take in the pure and the clean, and they let out the turbid and the unclean, the used air, right? The carbon dioxide. And so they're essentially a cleansing organ system. We often think of the liver as cleansing, but the lungs are one of the biggest cleansers of the body. And so that's why deep breathing is so important. When you exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide and you use your full lung capacity, you really give yourself a gift of health. And that's also why I'm such a huge fan of yoga, because yoga integrates movements that help increase your lung capacity as you breathe in, and then other movements that help you squeeze out the stale air and really kind of exchange that life force for the things that we don't need anymore. So in Chinese medicine, we always integrate the emotional angles of the different organ systems. So the lungs are important for taking in new concepts and ideas. So when we breathe in, we're literally breathing in the experience of life. We're breathing in our perceptions, right? We're bringing that in. And then we're letting go of old ideas of, when we let go, we go, right? We surrender. And every inhale and every exhale is that action, okay? So when we hang on to crap that we don't need anymore, we are not really helping our lungs along, okay? So that's an important concept to think about. The lungs harness emotions such as sadness, grief, melancholy. They harness boredom, apathy, shyness. Shyness is harnessed in the lungs. Inability to let go, like we talked about, and lack of inspiration. So if those are emotions that you find that you're dealing with on any level, working through those things is going to help strengthen your lungs. And if your lungs are strong, you're going to have a strong immune system, okay? In Chinese medicine, we say the lungs harness something called Wei Qi. What Wei Qi is imagine like this like protective layer that you have energetically around you that keeps the pathogen out. That is our Wei Qi. And it translates to the immune system. You have to think about thousands of years ago, there was no way to measure white blood cells. There was no way to measure hormones, viruses, bacteria. The germ theory didn't exist, right? So in Chinese medicine, what we do is we do a lot of symptom care. We interpret the nature of a disease, we digest it and spit it out in Chinese medicine terminology. So, um, so let me kind of regroup. Some of the things that you will notice if your lungs are out of balance: asthma, chest distension, shortness of breath, allergies, sinusitis, bronchitis. You may have low energy. You may get sick easily. Hay fever, cough, nasal congestion, phlegm, poor sense of smell. We say the lungs open up to the sinuses. That's also how the lungs get invaded, is through breathing in and having exposure to different pathogens. So the nose, it reflects the health of the lungs in Chinese medicine. Wheezing, weak immune system, throat infections, pain in the neck and shoulders, right? This area here, stiff neck and shoulders, stiff upper back. Now that can mean a lot of other things, but combined with lung conditions, that's also a sort of a validating factor that the lungs might be out of balance. Laryngitis, hoarseness, people with weak voices. You know, if somebody really doesn't, versus if somebody projects their voice very strong, very well, that is a reflection of strong lung qi. And so don't worry if you have any of those things or all of those things. Some of us come into the world with different imbalances. Some people come into the world with heart tendency towards heart disease. Some people come into the world with tendency towards blood deficiency, with kidney issues. So we all have a congenital makeup, right? And what we do with that makeup is we either really help along the deficiencies that we come into the world with, or we can keep them at bay so that we can live a really healthy life, even though we are predisposed to certain organ system imbalances. Okay. The last thing I want to share, because I do want to keep this video short, is what are some foods that you can eat to strengthen the lungs. Okay, there's a lot of things the lungs don't like. The lungs do not like to be damp. Dampness is caused by alcohol, baked goods, sweets, breads, all the good stuff, right? You want to stay away from creamy things, dairy, so important. Even some tropical fruits can be damp forming. Bananas, peanut butter is very damp forming. Okay, so think of things that are a little bit lighter, you know, that you can do for the lungs. So garlic is awesome for the lungs. I'm going to read off my little list. And you know what? I'll show you the lung meridian. Here we go. Here we have the large intestine meridian, which is actually a pair. I know this is backwards, but it's a pair for the lungs. Large intestine and lungs, they work together. The lung meridian is here. Okay. Here you can see how keeping your gut healthy is going to help your lungs. 70-80% of the immune system is rooted in the gut. You guys, we have to eat clean. We have to eat healthy. It's super important. All the junk food was missing from the store where I went to this morning. A lot of fresh fruits and veggies were still there. So, azuki beans, carrots, capers, cardamom, cauliflower, celery, cabbage, okay, spices, clove, cinnamon, cardamom, I think I already said. It's really nice for the lungs if you can cook your apples and cook your pears. So applesauce is a way of cooked apples, but it's really nice if you can like stew your pears or stew your apples, put them in a slow cooker, mash them up, have that like a little treat. Okay. Ginger, so good for the lungs, anti-inflammatory. Ginseng is a tonic as well. Grapes, what do grapes look like? They look like the little alveoli in the lungs. So things like mulberries and berries and grapes, those are really great for the lung qi. Green onions, honey. So did I say cayenne pepper? Cayenne pepper. That's why you're seeing garlic, honey, cayenne pepper. These are all things that we usually take when we're sick. Onions, parsley, tangerines, and walnuts. Citrus is also very good for the lungs, but if you do have a lot of phlegm, citrus probably isn't the best thing to do a ton of. Hot lemon water is going to be better for that. Okay, so that is my little quick and dirty version of Chinese medicine in the lungs. I wanted to keep it to 10 minutes. It looks like we have 11 minutes. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I do have a lot more time on my hands these days, and I would be more than happy to be of service. So thank you for listening.